Hello, welcome to Pike Creek Farm. My name is Renee, and if this is your first time here, thank you so much for joining me. I am in the thumb of Michigan, and I like to do videos on canning and cooking and baking, and I love vintage recipes. And today I'm here for a canning video because it's Canuary. Woo! Canuary. My favorite collab of the entire year. I personally love watching every day and can't wait for the next video to come out. Let me tell you a little bit about Canuary. It's a collab that's been organized for several years now by Leisa Sutton at SuttonsDaze. And Leisa has a great channel with lots of canning and pantry preparedness and just such a wealth of knowledge and information that she shares with us. And she organizes this collab every year. There's a different canning video every day. And at the end of it, she has a live drawing where she's going to give away a steam canner and a pressure canner. Leisa has brought on board 4 jars canning lids for the past several years. And they have 3 prizes they're going to give away too, including one of their pressure canners. So if you don't have a pressure canner, if you want canning lids, if you just like watching canning videos, make sure you watch every video, put a nice comment on it, and the winners will be drawn randomly from the videos and the comments. So it's fun, and you might win a prize. Can't go wrong. But no matter what, we're all going to be winners because we're going to have new recipes and learn new canning skills. Now, what am I doing today? I'm doing a recipe that is from the Ball Blue Book, the newest version, but it was also in the last version because it's been one of those recipes that I've had a little sticker by that I want to make. So this was my perfect opportunity. I am making goulash, beef goulash, not American goulash with the macaroni and hamburger. I love that, but that's not what we're canning. No. We're going to can Hungarian goulash, the beef. And the flavors, I'm just so excited. It has, paprika and peppercorns and bay leaves and caraway seeds. Just a wonderful flavor profile. And this is going to be easy meal to have on my pantry shelf. The recipe calls for 4 pounds of roast, chuck roast. You can use any beef roast. You could even use venison. I'm going to do some more using venison. And a single batch makes either 4 pints or 2 quarts. And I'm just going to do a single batch today with the beef because then I'm going to do more with venison. I'm getting things all prepped. I will bring you down and we will get to canning goulash. I have all my ingredients gathered. So we're going to put this together really fast. And I have my pressure canner filled with 3 quarts of water. That's what my Presto requires. I have my jars washed and hot water in them. And I have my 4 jar lids. Here, I'm going to put them in just some hot water as recommended. So, the recipe. Super easy, and it's different than other ones I've done. Usually I do raw packed meat. I love raw packed meat. This one is partially cooked, but what really appealed to me is you mix up your seasoning blend and you stir it into the meat. So the meat's flavored and then you brown it and then you make the sauce. So it just sounds really different, the process, and I just think it's going to infuse so much flavor into that meat. And if you ever had Hungarian goulash, it's just a very yummy, savory beef dinner with, you can put it on noodles or spätzle. So I'm looking forward to having some on my shelf. So here's my beef. It's all cubed up, the excess fat trimmed off. If you've never had home canned beef, it becomes the most tender, flavorful, just delicious meat ever and very convenient. The next step is we need to have 6 stalks of celery, 4 large carrots, and 3 onions. Medium onions, it says. They're not to be chopped. So you need to wash them, peel your carrots, peel your onions, and they're gonna be left in chunks that will add flavor to the broth as we're simmering it, but it won't be canned. We pull that out. What we're gonna do next is mix our dry spices. Salt, I have salt in here. This is canning salt I'm using. Paprika. It doesn't say you have to use Hungarian paprika, but my friend who used to make homemade Hungarian goulash always said you had to, for the best flavor, use Hungarian. So I did get this sweet paprika, can of it. I got it on Amazon. I'm not sure if it was here locally or not. I just was doing my shopping and got it. Dry mustard. That's the other spice that's going to be blended. You can double this recipe, triple it, whatever you want to go in your canner. I'm just doing the single. But if you're going to double it or triple it, write down the measurements of everything so that you have it. Just don't go by the fly. Just make sure you write down, just make sure you do your math and write down how much you need of each. So the first thing we need is 3 tablespoons of paprika. This paprika smells so good. So there's 1. 2. 3. One tablespoon of salt and 2 teaspoons of dry mustard. I'm going to mix these together. It's a lot of seasoning. I'm going to use, for my spice bag, I buy these tea bags. They're washable, reusable tea bags for doing your own teas, but they're great for canning. So 20 peppercorns go in here. 3 bay leaves. I get my bay leaves in bulk. 3 bay leaves. And 2 teaspoons of caraway seeds. Caraway seeds give a really distinct flavor. I like that flavor. You could leave them out if you don't. They're the seeds that are in some rye breads. So we need 2 teaspoons. I can smell it. It just makes me think of rye bread. So everything is in here. And I'm gonna seal it and just tie it up. I'm gonna put my seasoning in this bowl. Roll the meat and put it in here. I'm gonna get 1/3 cup of oil heating up in my pan too. The recipe calls for 1/3 cup, and we're going to brown the meat in that. We brown the meat in the pan. The color is coming out into the oil. It's just really beautiful. The house I was at that they served this homemade fresh was, when they served it, they gave you cayenne pepper to put on top. And that added such a good little zip. I'm gonna put the rest of the seasoning over the top. I'm gonna add the onion. 3 medium onions. I did 2 because my one was very large. Cut in half. 4 large carrots. I'm going to put my spice bag in here. 1 cup of water. Of white 5% acidity vinegar. It says to cover and simmer until meat is almost tender. Whoop. So I'm going to get my lid and let this cook away for a little bit. Oh, the vinegar really adds a good, I don't know, it makes it smell really good. Not sour, just a zip. This is what the sauce looks like right now. Here it is simmering away. The vegetables aren't tender yet and the meat's not, so I'm going to check it in 15 minutes because we want the flavors to really infuse. But look at the color. Isn't that beautiful? I have all my tools. Have my pot with my beef in here and the vegetables. Have my funnel. Have water for cleaning the edge. You can use vinegar too. I have my rings, my flats, and I have my jars that are in hot water. I have both a slotted spoon and a ladle, and I have my debubbler. So, and this is to pull the lids out. We fill these to 1-inch headspace, and they are processed for 75 minutes. Typical, meat times. But here, let's fill a couple of them. So I'm going to dig in here and try and get some of the meat to start off with. I kind of want to make sure I have enough meat in each of the jars and then the broth. And if I have to have hot water to top them off, I can do that if there's not enough broth in here. I'm trying to avoid the vegetables. I'm going to divide up all my meat to start off with. And I'm not going to worry if there's a little sliver of onion. I am really pleasantly surprised with how much the flavor infused. And this meat will continue to cook and get tender as it's pressure canned. Poke down and see how the jars are doing. Which ones could use some more? This one over here definitely needs some more. And I know there's some more in here still, a few pieces. So if we have too much meat, I'm sure Jim will eat it. There's a couple more pieces. One there, one there. We might be at the end. I'm going to start filling with the broth and debubbling. We want it to be 1-inch headspace. I want to put in all the jars so we make sure that they all, in case we don't have enough broth, I think we do, that they all have some of the good stuff. Oop, and I just splashed. Make sure to poke down all the sides and in the middle so that there's no air pockets and everything fits down. If it goes down below the 1 inch, you can add some more broth. It does make plenty. So I do have the vegetables and the broth in here, so I'm probably just going to turn that into a vegetable soup type thing that I can have for lunch or... So now we need to wipe these rims. And I always say this is a great chance to double check that there's no chips on that rim. I'm excited to try this with venison too, just to see how the flavor works with that. I think it will be really good with venison. That will interfere with the seal. 4-jar lids. I do like doing meat dishes in wide mouth. Sometimes I run out of them, but it's easier to get the meat out. Finger tight. Don't crank it down. Just when it stops, let it stop. And into my canner, which has 3 quarts of water and is heated up. So it's the same temperature as these jars. When you pressure can, you need to have at least 4 pints or 2 quarts. Here is this. I think I'm going to turn it into some kind of a soup. I might even puree it. Here's some of the broth, and it's wonderful. It's the caraway comes through, the paprika. It's wonderful. So I'm going to put my lid on. I already checked my seal, made sure my vent pipe is clear. Look through it, blow through it, and everything is set. I'm going to put the lid on. I use a weighted gauge for mine, and so what I will do is I'll turn the heat up, and when steam is coming out of that vent pipe, like a freight train, I put my timer on 10 minutes. After 10 minutes, I set on my jiggler, my weighted gauge, and when it starts to do a little hula dance, I set my timer for the 75 minutes. So, and then after that time, I just turn off the stove and let it sit until it comes back down to 0 pressure. And then you can remove this. I tried to use my immersion blender and it wasn't breaking up the big chunks. So I got out my Ninja, and it is turning into this lovely soup. I think it'd be wonderful with a dollop of like Greek yogurt on top. So I'm excited for this. You know, you can put it with noodles or something, use it as a sauce, but I love a puree soup occasionally, like squash or something. So I didn't want anything to go to waste. And you can hear the canner. Steam is starting to come. You can't see it very well, but it's not a full rush of steam yet. My lock usually pops up at the same time the steam is strong enough. Did you hear it? It just popped up. And I have the steam coming out. So I'm going to set the timer for 10 minutes. Here is just a little bowl of the soup. A little cayenne would be good too. The timer just went off, so now we're going to put this on there. And the gauge will go up, but when we use a weighted gauge, we do not pay attention to this gauge. But it kind of lets you know when it's getting near to when it will start jiggling. And when it has a nice hula dance jiggle, I'm going to set my timer for 75 minutes. Now to set the timer for 75 minutes. I also turn my heat down so that it doesn't go too crazy. You don't want it to be too high of going. That's one of the things that can cause siphoning. It's down to 0 pressure. I took off the gauge, and now I will wait 5 minutes before I remove the lid. Lid off, gonna let it rest for 5 minutes, but look,
That's pretty clear. I think they've all, that one hasn't sealed, but they've started to seal.
Here they are the next morning, and they have all sealed. They're full of nice chunks of meat. These will make great meals for us. So next I will do some using venison chunks, so then I can compare which I like better. Thank you so much for watching, and make sure to watch every Canuary video this month, because you're going to get such great ideas and they're just fun to watch. And thank you, Leisa, for inviting me. We'll see you next time at Pike Creek Farm.